See, it's common knowledge everywhere. I mean, people like me, I'm demonised and cancelled because I'm a climate change denier and so on. Well, I'm in good company because Stephen Koonin, and I say this for the benefit of our viewers, Professor Stephen Koonin was Barack Obama's former chief scientist. He has written a book called Unsettled. He's been treated by the left-wing media in America as if he didn't exist. Professor Koonin wrote, quote, "Leaders talk about existential threat, climate emergency, disaster, crisis, but in fact, when you actually read the literature, there is no support for that kind of hysteria. The science," he said, "is insufficient to make useful projections about how the climate will change in coming decades, much less what effect human beings will have on it." Now, this is a self-declared Democrat who's increasingly dismayed by climate alarmism. Now, I just don't know why anyone on the coalition side, Peter, would buy into this alarmism.
Well, Alan, firstly, in relation to the broader issue around people being able to express their views without being cancelled or without being savagely attacked online, there are many views out of Republican and Democratic administrations in relation to this issue, and they should be heard because they have a contribution to make to the debate. Now, we've been through this issue. I've spoken to you over many years on this issue, but the Liberal Party's been through many debates in relation to the issue. We do have a commitment to reduce emissions, but we want to do it in a responsible way. We want to do it in a way that's not going to send families and small businesses broke. We have to realise that we're in a global trading environment. We're an export nation, and you've got Europe and others who are now talking about sanctions and tariffs by stealth. So there is a whole layer of this debate still to play out. And the use of nuclear technology to firm up renewables in the system come with zero emissions at a lower cost to consumers. It's why it's embraced in Canada, in the United States, in China, in the United Kingdom and elsewhere, and yet we can't even have a debate in this country. As you pointed out earlier, the government's talking about rolling out 28,000 kilometres of poles and wires, including through land and farms and national parks, which is never going to happen.
Can't be done. I'll just say another thing. For the benefit of our viewers, I'll just say, and we'll get off this in a minute, but William Kinnenmonth is an Australian. He was the former distinguished head of the National Climate Centre within the Australian Bureau of Meteorology. He's on record as saying, and I quote, "Climate science is not settled. 4 decades of observations highlight that computer models have exaggerated the influence of anthropogenic emissions of carbon dioxide." He said the Paris Agreement has been negotiated from faulty premises. I mean, does the coalition know more than people like Professor Koonin and William Kinnenmonth?
Well, Alan, as you know, I mean, to be fair in the discussion, there are other eminent scientists who have the contrary view. Now, in time, perhaps one view or the other is dismissed or confirmed. But for me, I've got to deal with the reality of where the business community is, where our trading partners are, where a large section of the Australian community is. And we've gone through the debates about the science. We accept the science and the premise. We have taken to an election under John Howard, under Tony Abbott, under Malcolm Turnbull, under Scott Morrison, credible policies in relation to reducing emissions. And that's going to be our approach into the future. But there is failure coming in terms of what Labor is presiding over at the moment.
Absolutely.
Families are going to feel that most acutely, and that is the centre of the debate now.